Welcome back. Today we are diving deep into one of the most stressful, high-stakes financial transactions you will ever undertake in your life, selling your home. Whether you're offloading an investment property in Sydney, downsizing from your family home in Melbourne, or shifting assets in Brisbane, the principles of selling remain the same. Today, I'm going to walk you through some biggest mistakes Australian property sellers make. This isn't just a checklist. We're going to deconstruct the logic behind these errors so you can walk away with a bulletproof strategy. If you're thinking of selling in the next 6 to 12 months, you might want to grab a notebook. Let's get into it. Mistake number 1, the tax blind spot. The first mistake happens long before a for sale sign ever hits your front lawn. It's a silent killer because you don't feel the pain until tax time, usually a year later. That mistake is failing to consult your accountant before you decide to sell. I see this all the time. A property owner looks at the market, sees prices are high, and thinks, great, I'll sell my investment property. They sign a contract, settle the deal, and pop the champagne. Then they visit their accountant, and the accountant turns pale. Why? Capital gains tax. In Australia, the timing of your sale is critical. Your liability for CGT is usually triggered by the date of the contract, not the date of settlement. If you sign a contract on June 28th versus July 2nd, you're shifting that tax liability into a completely different financial year. That small difference could push you into a higher tax bracket or prevent you from offsetting that gain against a loss you might incur next year. Furthermore, if you haven't structured your ownership correctly from day one, back when you bought the place, you might be missing out on the 50% CGT discount for holding the asset for over 12 months. The pro tip: don't just ask your accountant, how much tax will I pay? Ask them, is this the right time to sell? Sometimes, waiting 3 weeks can save you thousands. Also, ask about the 6-year rule if you previously lived in the property. You might still be able to claim it as your main residence for tax purposes, even if it's been rented out. But you won't know if you don't ask before you sign. Mistake number 2, the for sale by owner trap. Let's move to the actual sale process. Mistake number 2 is the DIY hero. This is the owner who says, why should I pay a real estate agent 1.5% to 2.5% commission? I could just list it online for $1,000 and save myself $20,000. I get it. On paper, it looks like a smart saving, but in practice, it's usually a disaster. Here's the truth about what an agent actually does. They aren't just door openers. Real estate agents are professional negotiators and database managers. 1. The database advantage. A top-tier agent in a specific suburb, let's say a specialist in secondary market homes, has a database built over 10 years. They have thousands of emails and phone numbers of people who missed out on the last auction. When you list with them, before the ad even hits realestate.com.au, they have already emailed 5,000 qualified buyers. You cannot replicate that reach as an individual. 2. The buffer zone. Selling a home is emotional. If a buyer walks in and says the kitchen is ugly and it smells like wet dog, and you're the one showing them around, you will get defensive. You might lose the deal because your ego is bruised. An agent acts as an emotional shield. They take the feedback, filter out the nastiness, and bring you the offer. 3. The negotiation. Can you extract an extra $50,000 from a buyer who is on the fence? Can you create a Dutch auction scenario on a Tuesday night phone call? Agents do this for a living. My experience, and the data supports this, is that homes sold by agents generally achieve a final price that is significantly higher than for sale by owner homes. Usually, the higher price covers the commission and then puts extra profit in your pocket. As the saying goes, if you think a professional is expensive, wait until you hire an amateur. Mistake number 3, buying the listing, the agent selection error. Now, assuming you agree to hire an agent, we run into mistake number 3. This is perhaps the most common one, selecting an agent based on the highest quoted price and the lowest commission fee. In the industry, we call this buying the listing. Imagine you interview 3 agents. Agent A says, your home is worth $1 million. My fee is 2%. Agent B says, your home is worth $1.05 million. My fee is 1.8%. Agent C, the dishonest one, says, I love this house. I can get you $1.3 million, and I'll do it for 1.5% because I really want your business. Human nature dictates you pick Agent C. They promise the most money and charge the least. But think about this critically. If an agent cannot even negotiate their own commission, how on earth are they going to defend your asking price against a shark of a buyer? The conditioning phase. What happens with Agent C is a classic bait and switch. They list it at $1.3 million. No one comes to the open house because it's overpriced compared to the neighbors. The listing goes stale. After 4 weeks, Agent C comes back to you and says, oh, the market has turned. We need to drop the price to $1 million. By then, you've wasted time, paid for advertising, and your listing looks like damaged goods. You end up selling for $980,000, less than what Agent A predicted, because the momentum is gone. How to vet an agent. Don't rely on their verbal promise. Demand evidence. Ask for a comparative market analysis based on RP data or core logic. Ask to see the sales results of similar homes in your street from the last 3 to 6 months. Check the reviews. Go to realestate.com.au and use the Find Agents tool. Look up the specific agent, not just the agency brand. Look at their track record. How many homes have they sold in your suburb? Do they have reviews? If they have 0 reviews and 0 recent sales, run. They're using your house as a practice dummy. Mistake number 4. The legal oversight, the 12.5% trap. This next mistake is technical, but it's a deal breaker. It involves the foreign resident capital gains withholding rules. Many Australians think, I'm an Australian citizen. I live here, so this doesn't apply to me. Wrong. Since 2017, the government tightened the rules to prevent tax evasion. If your property sells for $750,000 or more, the buyer is legally required to withhold 12.5% of the purchase price and send it directly to the Australian Taxation Office unless you provide a clearance certificate. If you sell your house for $1 million, that is $125,000 held back from your settlement funds. You might need that cash to pay off your mortgage or buy your next home. If you don't have that certificate on settlement day, the buyer must keep the money. You might get it back eventually when you file your tax return, but can you afford to be without that cash for months? The fix is free to apply for a clearance certificate via the ATO website. Crucial detail. If the property is owned jointly, for example, husband and wife, both of you need to apply for separate certificates. Do not leave this to the last minute. Get it sorted as soon as you list the property. Mistake number 5. The open agency gamble. Mistake number 5 is trying to hedge your bets by hiring multiple agencies at once. This is called an open listing or open agency agreement. The logic seems sound. If I have 3 different companies trying to sell my house, I'll reach 3 times the buyers, and they'll compete to sell it first. In reality, the opposite happens. In the real estate world, an exclusive agency agreement means the agent gets paid no matter who finds the buyer during the contract period. This gives them the security to invest their own time, energy, and money into marketing your property. If you sign an open listing with 3 agents, nobody owns the listing. Why would Agent A spend their Saturday morning doing an open house if Agent B might sell it on Monday and Agent A gets $0? Why would Agent B pay for professional photography if Agent C can use those photos to sell the house? When you list with everyone, you list with no one. Your property becomes the lowest priority for every agent involved. They will only show it if a buyer specifically asks for it, but they won't proactively push it. In the current Australian market, exclusive agency is the standard for a reason. It creates accountability. Mistake number 6, the auction fallacy. There is a myth in Australia, particularly in Melbourne and Sydney, that auctions are always the best way to sell. Mistake number 6 is blindly following this advice without looking at your specific property type. Auctions work on the principle of scarcity and social proof. If you have a unique Victorian terrace in a hot suburb or a family home in a coveted school zone, an auction is brilliant. You want 3 emotionally attached families fighting each other, driving the price up $100,000 over the reserve. However, What if you were selling a standard two-bedroom apartment in a high-rise building where there are 200 other identical units? If you take that apartment to auction and nobody bids, the property is passed in. Now, the property is publicly stigmatized. Every buyer knows it failed. They smell blood in the water. They think, nobody wanted it, so I can offer $50,000 less. If your property is a commodity, meaning it's very similar to many others currently for sale, a private treaty, which means standard sale with a price guide, is often safer and more effective. It allows the agent to negotiate one-on-one without the public embarrassment of a failed auction. Don't let an agent push you into an auction just because it's their agency's default setting. Ask them, why does the auction strategy suit my specific property type? Mistake number 7. The empty house, presentation errors. Let's talk about presentation. Mistake number 7 covers how the property looks during inspections. This usually manifests in 2 ways: leaving old, cluttery furniture, or, worse, leaving the house completely empty. The psychology of staging. Most buyers lack imagination. I'm sorry, but it's true. If they walk into an empty living room, they can't figure out if a sofa fits. They focus on the flaws, the scuff mark on the skirting board, the small crack in the plaster, because there's nothing else to look at. An empty room actually feels smaller than a furnished one. On the flip side, if you leave your old, heavy, dark furniture from the 1990s, the house feels dated, even if the structure is fine. The solution: property styling, also called as staging. Yes, it costs money. You might spend $3,000 to $5,000 to hire furniture for a 6-week campaign. But the return on investment is massive. Styled homes photograph better. Better photos mean more clicks on realestate.com.au. More clicks mean more bodies at the open house. More bodies mean more competition. A good stylist knows how to place mirrors to bounce light, use rugs to define zones, and use neutral colors to appeal to the widest demographic. My rule of thumb: if the furniture is yours, ask the agent honestly, does this elevate the home or drag it down? If they say drag it down, move it out and hire the pros. Mistake number 8, selling with a tenant. This is a tough one because it involves empathy and economics. Mistake number 8 is trying to sell a property while a tenant is still living there. I understand the hesitation. If you ask the tenant to leave, you lose rental income for the 4 weeks of the campaign, plus the 6 weeks until settlement. That's 3 months of lost rent. But here is the counter-argument. Tenants are the enemy of a high sale price. It's not their fault. They just have different incentives. A sale is a nuisance to them. They have to keep the place tidy, hide their personal items, and leave the house every Saturday morning. They might leave the dishes in the sink. They might not open the curtains. They might restrict access times. Furthermore, most buyers in the current market are owner-occupiers, which means people who want to live there. If a property has a fixed-term lease that runs for another 6 months, an owner-occupier cannot move in. They will scroll right past your ad. You have instantly cut out 70% of your market. The math: you might lose $5,000 in rent by keeping it vacant. But a messy, dark, tenanted property could sell for $30,000 or $40,000 less than a pristine, vacant, styled home. Do the math. Vacant possession is power. Mistake number 9, set and forget, lack of oversight. Finally, mistake number 9. You've hired the agent, signed the exclusive agreement, and staged the home. Now you sit back and wait for the check, right? Wrong. This set and forget mentality is dangerous. You need a manager. The secret shopper method. I always advise sellers to attend the first open inspection, but be stealthy. Do not tell the agent you are coming. Park down the street. Walk past 30 minutes before the open starts. Is the agent there early? Are they open for inspection boards out? Are all the lights on? Is the house aired out? Is the agent on their phone? Or are they greeting people? If the inspection starts at 10 a.m. and the agent rushes in at 9:58 a.m., fumbling with keys, you have a problem. The first 4 to 6 weeks are the golden window for selling. If the agent is lazy in week 1, your campaign is doomed. Communication loop. A professional agent should provide a written report every week. It should detail how many groups came through. What was the feedback, positive or negative? Were there any contracts issued? What is the follow-up strategy for interested parties? If you have to chase your agent for an update, they aren't working hard enough. You and the agent should be a team with a unified goal, the highest possible price. But as the owner, you are the team captain. Conclusion, the holistic strategy. So there you have it, the 9 pitfalls that separate the record-breaking sales from the disappointments. Finance, talk to your accountant early. Representation, don't sell it yourself. Selection, don't fall for high quotes and low fees. Compliance, get your clearance certificate. Commitment, sign an exclusive agency agreement. Method, choose auction versus private treaty based on your asset, not the agent's ego. Presentation, style the property. Don't leave it empty or cluttered. Access, sell vacant, not tenanted. Management, audit your agent's performance, especially in week 1. Selling a home is a massive project. It requires a blend of financial savvy, legal compliance, psychological marketing, and project management. It sounds daunting, but by avoiding these specific errors, you are already ahead of 90% of the market. Your next step. If you're planning to sell, start with step 1 today. Don't call an agent yet. Call your accountant. Get the tax structure clear. Then go to realestate.com.au and start stalking the agents in your area to see who is actually shifting volume and getting good reviews. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you in the next episode.